All right, hello and welcome. I'm Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And here I'm back with another one of our monthly seminars. Today we're going to be talking about the very important and timely topic of immigration bonds. So if you know someone who is detained, the question is how to get them out of there. And often a bond is the way out. So, perfect. And as always, we'll be talking in English and in Spanish. Así que bienvenidos y hola y buenos días y buenas tardes, ¿ya? Y soy Otis Landerholm, soy el abogado principal aquí en Landerholm Immigration A.P.C, donde luchamos por su sueño americano. Y hoy vamos a hablar en otro seminario mensual sobre el tema de fianzas y de si alguien está detenido, cómo le podemos sacar de detención. En la gran mayoría de tiempos, la fianza es la mejor manera para poder sacarle a uno de un centro de detención de inmigración. ¿Ok? Y como siempre vamos a estar hablando en inglés y en español. Y así que mil gracias por estar conmigo ahora. Si está aquí dentro de mi oficina, o si está en Facebook, o en YouTube, o donde sea, o en nuestro sitio de web. ¿Ok? Vamos a comenzar. Mi agenda de hoy. Voy a comenzar con una pequeña introducción, como siempre hago, y voy a hablar sobre la detención de inmigración y de las fianzas. Okay? In English, we'll get started. My agenda is first to do an introduction, like I always do, of me and my office, and second, to talk about immigration detention and bonds. Okay, for our introduction, we good? Good? Okay. So, if you can't hear me, if you're watching and you can't hear me, or if you have like a technical difficulty, like message us, like give us a hey shout out if you're on Facebook Live, all right? But we'll assume that everything is working just beautifully. All right. And if you can hear us, then give us like a thumbs up or something on the video. I think you can do that. Give us like a big like or like a heart or something. Okay, let's do the introduction. I want everybody who interacts with my office to get to know who I am. So many of you may know me as the pro, the lawyer, the owner of this law firm. I'm also a family man. My wife, Wendy, and our two kids, we live here in the Bay Area. I'm also a biker, bicycler. In the year 2005, I rode my bicycle across the United States. I really love kind of long endurance sports, athletics. I've run one marathon. I've just signed up for my second one. And Otis the Traveler. I've traveled in 22 different countries. I've lived in 5 different countries. I love going to new places, meeting people from other parts of the world who speak different languages, who think, differently about how to govern a society, things like that. I love going and meeting folks from other places. So that's a big part of why I do what I do. In Spanish, hola, mi nombre es Otis Landerholm y muchos me conocen como el pro, el abogado, el fundador de ese bufete de abogados, Landerholm Immigration A.P.C. Pero quiero que me conocen también. Soy hombre de familias. Mi esposa y nuestros 2 hijos vivimos aquí en el área de la bahía. Y soy también biciclista. En el 2005 yo anduve de un lado a otro de los Estados Unidos en bicicleta y me encantan los deportes de endurance, como de ir a largas distancias. Y también soy viajero. He viajado a 22 países diferentes y he vivido en 5 países diferentes. Y pues me encanta ir y conocer personas de otras partes del mundo y estudiar idiomas y estudiar y aprender de otras culturas. Así que es un gran parte de por qué quiero hacer lo que hago. Y así que la pregunta es siempre ¿por qué un estadounidense, un gringo, un norteamericano como yo sería abogado de inmigración? Y la respuesta es porque yo creo en la libertad de movimiento. Y siempre me gusta hacer la pregunta de por qué pude yo viajar a estos países y por qué pude yo vivir en los países aquí subrayados sin preocuparme de ser detenido. Nunca fui deportado, nunca fui agarrado por ninguna patrulla fronteriza, ni tampoco tuve que gastar miles de dólares en una lucha legal, nunca tuve que ir ante un juez, nunca tuve que hacer tanta cosa, ¿verdad? Para poder entrar o para poder vivir en esos países, ¿ok? Y mientras, pues esta foto demuestra el muro que existe entre los Estados Unidos y México, y las cruces ahí simbolizan personas que están muertos intentando y que murieron entrando a los Estados Unidos, intentando entrar a los Estados Unidos. Y es como que, ¿por qué es tan fácil para algunas personas como yo ir donde queremos en este mundo, y por qué es tan difícil para la gran mayoría de personas hacer exactamente la misma cosa? Y eso es porque yo creo en la libertad de movimiento. En mi opinión, personas deberían estar libres de ir donde quieran ir. ¿Okay? Estamos en un planeta libre realmente. ¿Y por qué no? ¿Yeah? Así que esa diferencia, esa desigualdad que existe es realmente porque estamos aquí luchando los casos que estamos aquí luchando, ¿ya? Y aquí estamos, somos abogados, somos paralegales, somos asistentes legales, y estamos aquí para luchar por los derechos de inmigrantes que están enfrentando la deportación, ¿ok? Así que gracias, voy a explicar todo eso en inglés. So, I'm going to say all that in English. Basically, I already introduced myself. It brings me to my why. Why am I an immigration lawyer, right? I'm an immigration lawyer because I believe in the freedom of movement. And I always ask the question, like, why could I travel to all these countries? And why could I live in the countries that are bold and underlined on this list and never once worry about getting caught crossing the border or getting detained by immigration, or, you know, I never once was deported. I never once had to pay like thousands of dollars to some lawyer to like fight my case in front of a judge to get into any of these countries, right? Versus this photo shows the wall that exists, and yes, it does exist, between the United States and Mexico, and the crosses that are on it represent human beings who have died trying to enter the United States. And it's like, why is it so simple for some people to travel wherever we want to, and why is it so difficult for so many other people to do the same? And, you know, that's why I believe that there shouldn't be this. And in my opinion, we actually should all have the freedom of movement. We should all have the freedom to like go explore the planet and like go check out other places, and like, why not, right? Yeah, people say we live in a free country. Well, how about we live in a free world, right? And we could make that happen, and why not go for it? So that's it. So here we are. We're lawyers, we're paralegals, and we're legal assistants. We fight for the rights of immigrants who are facing deportation, and we do it with passion. So there you go. That's all I'm going to say about me. Now we're going to talk about the theme for today's monthly seminar, and really we're talking about bonds. And to talk about bond, it doesn't make sense to qualify for a bond unless you're detained, right? You don't need to pay a bond if you're not behind bars already and looking for a way to get out of there, all right? So we're talking about immigration detention, and we're talking about immigration bonds. Okay, and I'll say that in Spanish. Estamos aquí hoy hablando de la detención de inmigración y también de las fianzas, porque las fianzas son el mecanismo normal para poder salir de detención. Okay? All right. So we have 4 questions. We have 4 questions that we're going to look at today. First, when and why are immigrants detained in the first place? Second, once somebody's detained, who is eligible to be released? Third, how can you request and obtain a bond to get somebody released? How can you make that release happen? And 4, what about quote-unquote prolonged detention? If somebody's been detained for a long time and they've denied the bond and denied the bond and denied the bond for a long time, then what options do you have? All right? So first, when and why are immigrants detained in the first place? Second, once detained, who's eligible to be released? Third, how to request and obtain that bond. And 4, what about prolonged detention? If somebody was denied a bond originally, but they're still in there fighting their case months later, can't we finally get them out at some point, right? Okay, good. So let me do that in Spanish. Hay 4 preguntas que quiero analizar con usted ahorita, okay? Primero es cuándo y cómo y por qué, están detenidos los inmigrantes. Cuándo son detenidos y por qué. 2, una vez que están detenidos, ¿quién es elegible a salir de detención? 3, ¿cómo podemos solicitar y obtener una fianza? Y 4, ¿qué pasa si está uno detenido por un tiempo prolongado? Okay, que es una detención súper largo. ¿Es posible o no pedir una fianza después de mucho tiempo de estar detenido? Okay? 4 preguntas que vamos a analizar. Okay? So the first question, when and why are immigrants detained in the first place? All right? When and who, when and why, when do immigrants get detained? All right. So the basics, the very basics are the top here. Any immigrant who is quote-unquote deportable, has overstayed a visa, has entered without permission, whatever grounds make them deportable, is subject to possible immigration enforcement, including immigration detention by ICE. All right? If you entered without inspection, if you overstayed your visa, it is possible that ICE could knock on your door and arrest you and detain you for immigration processing. It is possible. It does happen. All right? However, the people who are most at risk of getting detained are basically 3. All right? And this is in my experience. This isn't like in the law anywhere. But in our experience, the 3 folks that are most at risk of getting detained by immigration are 1, people with criminal convictions, 2, people who are crossing the border right now, all right, people that are crossing the border without permission, and 3, people with prior immigration violations, whether that's prior deportations, prior arrests by immigration, prior deportation orders that were never executed in court. Basically, those 3 categories of folks put you at a higher risk of being detained by immigration. Criminal records, people crossing without permission right now, and people with prior immigration violations, especially prior deportations. Okay? And I'll say, and before we get into the rest, I do want to say that if you're at risk of being detained, you really need to know your rights. And we'll talk about those on the next slide, but first I'm going to cover this slide in Spanish. Okay? So if you're at risk of being detained, know your rights. And we'll cover that in a second. Okay. Hablo de todo eso en español. Okay? ¿Cuándo y quién va a ser detenido? Okay? Básicamente, bajo la ley, cualquier inmigrante que es, entre comillas, deportable, está sujeto a la posibilidad de que inmigración venga y le busque y le detenga. ¿Ok? Así que si usted ha sobrepasado el tiempo en su visa, si usted cruzó la frontera sin permiso legal, y es el único problema que tiene en su record, ¿ya? Aún con eso, existe la posibilidad de que inmigración le puede buscar, ¿ok? Y le puede detener. Pero, en mi experiencia, básicamente hay más riesgos de eso en 3 categorías diferentes de personas, ¿ok? Las 3 categorías son: 1, si usted tiene un récord criminal, los riesgos suben, ¿ok? 2, si usted está actualmente cruzando la frontera sin permiso legal, le van a detener, ¿ok? Y le van a, o sea, va a estar sujeto de un arresto. Y 3, los que ya tienen violaciones anteriores de inmigración, más que nada deportaciones en el pasado, ¿ok? Así que los que están con altos riesgos de ser detenidos son los con récords criminales, los que están cruzando la frontera sin permiso legal ahora, y 3, los con violaciones en el pasado, más que nada de deportaciones en el pasado. ¿Ok? ¿Claros? Ok, muy bien. Si usted tiene cualquier duda, cualquier pregunta, mándenos un mensaje aquí en Facebook. All right? Y si usted corre el riesgo de ser detenido, yo quiero que usted conoce a sus derechos. Así que por eso voy a hablar de los derechos constitucionales que nosotros tenemos rapidito. Okay? So, we all have constitutional rights, and if you're at risk of being detained by ICE, I want you to know them. All right? And really, I want everybody to know their constitutional rights. So, number 1, you have the right to not open your door. All right? You have the right to be free from, quote unquote, unreasonable searches and seizures. All right? 4th Amendment. Gotta love it, right? So, what that helps you with is that if ICE comes and they knock on the door, right, you don't have to open it. And they're not going to knock in a friendly way. They're going to, bang on your door. And they might have guns, loaded. And they might have 6, cars in your driveway with shining lights and stuff like that. And they might not ask in a friendly manner. They might say, open your door now. But in that situation, you do have the right to say, hey, officer, nice to meet you, but sorry, I'm not going to open my door because I have a constitutional right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. And oh, by the way, if you've got a warrant and if you really want to come in here and arrest me, then bang the door down and come in and arrest me, but I'm not opening my door, right? So you can say that. And it's not very common that people actually say that word for word, but if you've got the courage and if you go for it, I really recommend that you not open your door. All right? The second one, which is right in there and is very, very important in a democracy that values the freedom of speech, is the freedom to not speak. And we call that the right to remain silent. All right? You have the absolute right to remain silent and use it. If an officer says, hey, where are you from? What's your name? Whatever it is, sorry, officer, I would rather remain silent. You can just say that. I've got a constitutional right to remain silent. I'd rather not answer that question. If you need to arrest me, go ahead and arrest me if you've got probable cause, right? But people can't, constitutionally, they can't just arrest people for no reason, all right? But if you give them the name that they're looking for, now they've got a reason. So any question that they ask, it's better to just say, hey, you know something? Nice to meet you. Thanks for asking the question. I'd rather remain silent because I have a constitutional right to do so. Period. All right? Good. So, still, they might arrest you. And if they do that, then, call my office and the fight is on, right? And if that happens, don't sign your deportation. Do not sign deportation ever without consulting with an immigration lawyer who knows what they're talking about, all right? Because we see cases where people were deported and they should not have been. And we see cases where people were deported because they signed their deportation and they had a case and they could have won their case, all right? And now they're screwed over because they have a deportation order against them. It makes it way more difficult, right? Ask for your lawyer to be present. State that you don't consent to any searches that are happening. We all have these rights. All right, I'm going to say all this in Spanish. Todos tenemos derechos constitucionales, ¿ok? Así que primero yo quiero que cada persona sepa, pero aún más para personas que corren riesgo de ser detenidos, que no tiene que abrir la puerta, ¿ok? Aun si están golpeando la puerta y gritándole, ábreme la puerta ahora, ¿ya? Pues no, yo tengo derecho constitucional, yo no voy a abrir mi puerta. Y mira, si tienen un warrant para arrestarle, ellos pueden golpear la puerta. Y realmente, cuando realmente tienen un warrant, un orden judicial para entrar en su casa, normalmente no van a preguntar nada, van a entrar, ¿ok? Así que, ok, 2, usted tiene siempre el derecho de mantener el silencio. Y si ellos le hacen, hey, ¿cómo se llama usted? ¿De dónde viene usted? Mejor decir, mira, buenos días, pero disculpe, yo prefiero mantener mi derecho de quedarme silencio, ¿ya? De no decir nada. Y punto. No tiene que decir nada más, ¿ok? Eso le puede ayudar en su caso, ¿ok? 3, que nadie nunca debería firmar su propia deportación y sin duda debería por lo menos hacer una consulta legal con un abogado que realmente entienda esas cosas antes de tomar la decisión de que no quiero, que no tengo caso, ¿yeah? O que no quiero luchar mi caso. Hable con un abogado que realmente sabe la ley antes de hacer eso, por favor, ¿ok? Y que tiene el derecho también de pedir que su abogado esté presente con usted durante cualquier interrogación, esas cosas, y puede decir claramente que no está, I don't consent to the search. Es como que no estoy de acuerdo con esta búsqueda, ¿ya? Y tiene el derecho de decir eso, okay? All right, so we've talked about who could be detained, all right, and especially those folks needs to know their rights, all right? And now we're going to talk about once detained, who is eligible to be released, all right? Así que ya hablamos de quién puede ser detenido, y para los que corren riesgo de ser detenidos deberían saber sus derechos constitucionales. Pero 2, ahora, una vez que uno está detenido, ¿cómo y quién es elegible salir de detención, all right? So, we're going to talk about mandatory detention versus people who are quote-unquote bond eligible, all right? And immigration law is, I think, the only area of U.S. law where there's anybody who's subject to quote-unquote mandatory detention, all right? This concept actually doesn't even exist in criminal law, right? If somebody was a serious, even like serious murder cases, people can still get a bond. It might be set at like $3 million or something, right? But they can still get a bond and get out of there, right? At least while the cases, they haven't even been convicted yet, right? But for in immigration cases, the charges haven't even been proven as to whether or not somebody actually is deportable, but they're still subject to mandatory detention. It's kind of a crazy situation, all right? So, anyway, so we should talk about that. Basically, mandatory detention is for people with certain criminal convictions and also for quote-unquote arriving aliens, so people that are arriving right now, all right? So in those categories, if you have certain crimes, if you have crimes at all, you should have an immigration lawyer look at them to see what your risks are. But if you're detained, you might not be eligible for a bond period because you've got certain criminal convictions. Any drug conviction, for example, will subject you to mandatory detention. You won't be eligible for any bond, all right? And, okay, everyone else, though, is eligible for a bond, or at least to make the argument that you're eligible for a bond. And I say everyone else, if you're in straight up 240B removal proceedings, all right? The other thing, I didn't put it in here, but if you have a deportation order against you already, you're not going to be eligible for a bond, all right? In fact, you won't be eligible to even go through this process. They can reinstate your old deportation order and just deport you, all right? So, but if you're in the process and if you don't have any of like certain criminal convictions, and if you're not a quote-unquote arriving alien arriving right now, all right, then you can make the argument that you're eligible for bond. We following? Tracking? Okay, good. So these distinctions, mandatory detention versus bond eligible, they are what the judge has to look at. But what I'm putting down here, that's a key note, is that ICE, if you've got a deportation officer, an ICE officer on your case that wants to grant you a bond, they can. And they can do it even if the court can't. All right? So if you have a sympathetic ICE officer that says, hey, you just get me a packet of like your good moral character evidence, then jump on that and get the officer whatever the officer needs to make a favorable determination. Okay, we good? So in Spanish, ¿quién es elegible a salir de detención? Hay una diferencia entre personas que están sujetos a la detención obligatoria y al otro lado personas que sí son elegibles para salir bajo fianza, ¿ok? Personas que están sujetos de la detención obligatoria son los que tienen algunos convicciones criminales específicos, ¿ok? Por ejemplo, convicciones de drogas, o por ejemplo cualquier felonía agravada, ¿ok? Esas cosas le hace a uno inelegible para una fianza y ni tiene sentido luchar para el fianza ante el corte, en mi opinión, a veces, porque es algo que seguro va a prolongar el proceso y va a salir en la misma situación, va a estar detenido, ¿ok? Y además hay personas que están entrando ahora, tal vez pidiendo asilo, tal vez entrando actualmente cuando están detenidos, y esas personas también son sujetos de la detención obligatoria, pero hay argumentos que puede hacer uno ante ICE, pero para el juez va a estar sujeto de detención obligatoria, ¿ok? Todos los demás, si están en procedimientos de deportación y tiene audiencias y todo eso, y si no tiene el récord criminal, y si no tiene si no está entrando actualmente, puede ser que sí está elegible para una fianza, ¿ok? Y tiene el derecho de por lo menos someter la solicitud para poder salir de detención, ¿ok? Y yo digo aquí que ICE tiene el poder de dar una fianza aún para personas que son sujetos a la detención obligatoria, ¿ok? Porque ICE tiene ese poder, pero el corte no. Así que si usted tiene un oficial de inmigración que está más amigable, que casi no existe ya, pero si tiene eso, tiene el poder y el derecho de negociar o de entrar en esa conversación, someter la documentación, las pruebas a ese oficial y tal vez le va a dejar salir bajo fianza. Okay? Okay. I'm going to drink some tea. I am talking a lot. I have some. Don't worry about it. All right. So number 3. Now we're going to talk about how to request and how to obtain a bond. All right. So first, basically, this is a 2-part process. First, you can request a bond from ICE directly. And this is before you've even had a hearing. This is right when you're detained. You have the right and the ability to ask for a bond to be released from ICE automatically, right away, right? In fact, ICE has more power than the courts do. I just mentioned that, to issue a bond. It's just that they rarely do it, all right? They're kind of jerks sometimes. And so they often will just say, hey, thanks for the information, your request was denied, right? And even if they deny your bond, then you can still ask a judge for bond if you're in straight up removal proceedings. So those are the processes. That's how you request, that's how you obtain a bond. You either ask it straight up from ICE, which I recommend everybody do, and if they say no, then you ask it once you're in immigration court proceedings, typically at your first master calendar hearing. Hey judge, I'd like to be heard on bond. All right, and then you'll be set for a bond hearing. All right. So let's see. So I'll talk about this in Spanish, and then we'll talk about like what to include in that request, because that's really where we need to focus our attention. All right. So cómo pedir y cómo obtener una fianza. Pues hay realmente dos pasos en el proceso cuando uno puede pedir la fianza. Primero, el mismo día, una vez que usted está detenido por inmigración, puede ir directamente a su oficial de deportación. Cada persona tiene un deportation officer, un oficial de deportación, y puede pedirle una fianza. Y ICE realmente tiene el poder de negociar y de darle una fianza desde el principio. Casi nunca lo hacen, ¿ok? Es raro que lo hacen, pero lo pueden hacer y es una buena idea saberlo y negociar eso lo antes posible, ¿ok? Y aun si ellos dicen que no, aun si ellos dicen que, ¿sabe qué? No vamos a aceptar una fianza en su caso, aún así usted tiene el derecho de pedir eso ante un juez. Así que dentro de su primera audiencia preliminar tiene el derecho de ir ante el juez y decir, hey, juez, quiero que me escuche en los argumentos que tengo para salir bajo fianza. Y el juez puede poner su caso para una audiencia de fianzas. Y pues vamos a la lucha y preparamos toda la documentación. ¿Ok? So ahora vamos a explicar qué hay que incluir en esas solicitudes, aun si es como ante ICE o ante los jueces. Okay? So primero hago eso en inglés y luego en español. Okay. So what to include in your bond request? You're making that request to ICE, you're making it to the judge. What do you include? All right. Basically, there's two elements. There's two like big things to prove. The first is that you are not a danger to society, all right? And you've got to show evidence of that. So, for example, you might show evidence that any criminal history that you have is minimal, right? Or it happened a long, long time ago, or it's not even existent, right? Or if you had some, that you completely rehabilitated yourself, right? You're completely a changed man, all right? Or woman. And that you are a person of good moral character. All right, you want to show all that. I often, with our bond packets, we have 5, 6, 7, up to 12, 20 even, letters from people in your life, friends, family, neighbors, whoever, your employers, you know, people, co-workers, whatever. People who care about you, people who know you, people who can vouch for you, right? Let's put all of those letters together in a packet so that the judge sees, oh, this guy is like well loved by his community. Yeah, he's not a danger, okay? The second thing we've got to show is that you're not a quote-unquote flight risk, all right? Which means that you're going to stick with it, right? If you pay a bond, it means that you're going to be released, but you've got to still come back to the court for your hearings. And the judge doesn't want you to just be released and run away. They want to make sure that you're going to show up. So you've got to show that, you know, for example, that you've got extensive family in the area, that you've got extensive community ties in the United States, that you have a stable job, that you have like reasons to fight your case here, all right? And so basically those are the two things that you've got to show, all right? And we put a packet of that evidence together, we send it to your ICE officer, we send it to the immigration judge, and we fight, you know, for your bond. All right, that's it. So, ¿qué hay que incluir en la solicitud? Básicamente hay dos cosas grandes que tenemos que comprobar. Uno, que usted no es un peligro a la sociedad, y para demostrar eso normalmente mandamos evidencias de cualquier récord criminal que tal vez tenga y que ese récord no es súper fuerte y que pasó hace mucho tiempo y que usted es una persona nueva ahora y que realmente hay mucha rehabilitación. Mandamos todas esas pruebas, ¿ok? También mandamos pruebas de que ahora es una persona de buen carácter moral y de un carácter moral alto, ¿ya? Y dos, la segunda cosa es que no es riesgo de fugo, que, I think I said that right, yeah, que no va a huir del proceso, porque cuando uno paga una fianza, está diciendo que estoy pagando la fianza para poder salir de detención, pero voy a seguir aquí y voy a todas las audiencias para seguir en el proceso legal que tengo, ¿ok? Así que los jueces no quieren dar fianza a uno que va a salir y luego huir y esconderse y ir a otro estado o otro lado, ¿ok? Así que para demostrar eso, queremos mandar evidencias de que tiene su familia o que tiene su familia, su comunidad o que tiene un trabajo estable o esas cosas que tienen atas, ¿ya? A la sociedad, a la comunidad aquí en Estados Unidos, que podemos demostrar para explicar al juez que usted tiene ganas de seguir con su caso, ¿ok? Y eso, juntamos todas esas pruebas, lo mandamos en un paquete y mandamos uno a los oficiales de inmigración y si estamos en corte lo mandamos al juez de inmigración y luego pues vamos a la lucha y explicamos todo eso y vemos lo que dicen, ¿ok? So, I just said like a lot. There's like a lot of information in all of this. And I get that some of the font is really small and stuff like that. And so if you want a copy of this, please text us. Please text the word BOND, B-O-N-D, to 510-646-0904. Or you can just send us the word BOND here in Facebook, and I will make sure that you get a copy of these slides sent to you. Okay, because it's free information. I want you to have it. All right. So, yo sé que estamos hablando de muchos términos y de que mucha de la información está aquí en palabras pequeñas. Tal vez no se ve muy claramente. Así que si usted quiere una copia de todo lo que estoy mencionando ahora, por favor, mándanos un texto de la palabra fianza, o puede poner bond, ¿ya? A este número, 510-646-0904, o que nos mande la palabra bond o la palabra fianza a nuestro sitio aquí en Facebook y le podemos mandar una copia de toda esa presentación, ¿ok? 100% gratis. Okay. Y la cuarta pregunta, the fourth question, is what about prolonged detention? So this is a complex area. So imagine that you requested bond already and it was denied. And now you're fighting your case and you're still detained. And you're like, gosh, when am I going to get out of here? You've been in jail with immigration, inside of an immigration detention center for months, all right? What are your options? So first of all, you are not alone, all right? Immigration jails, I mean, if you're in one, you know this. They're full, right? There are a lot of people in there. There was a court case, the Rodriguez versus Jennings case. The Supreme Court earlier this year decided that so in the past, every 6 months, we could get you a bond hearing. We used to call it a Rodriguez bond, all right? We could get you a bond hearing and fight your case to get you released at that point. The Supreme Court has made that not easy, but also not impossible, all right? So just because the Supreme Court denied the arguments that were at issue in Rodriguez versus Jennings, there are still arguments under habeas corpus, under some other arguments, and I'd love to talk with you about that if you know somebody in prolonged detention. There are ways to at least request bond hearings after 6 months go by of being detained, all right? And just because the Supreme Court denied the Rodriguez case at this time around, that fight is actually still on because they never addressed whether or not the due process clause requires 6-month bond hearings. I don't want to get into that. I just want to say that the fight is continuing, okay? So if you know somebody that's been detained for a long, long time, I don't want you to lose hope. It's not easy to get somebody out, but there are arguments to make. And so if you know somebody that's been detained for like way too long, talk to somebody. At least give us a call. Let's analyze it to see what arguments we could put forward to try and get them out of there, or to at least get them another bond hearing so that they can present their case fully. Okay? So I'm going to say all of that in Spanish and then we'll wrap up. Okay, so la cuarta pregunta es acerca de la detención prolongada, es decir, que una detención súper larga. Y la pregunta es si negaron la fianza al principio y ahora está luchando su caso, ya ha presentado su aplicación tal vez de asilo o de la cancelación y remover o de un aviso U o lo que sea, pero está detenido y esperando meses porque no hay una decisión todavía y está ahí encarcelado. ¿Qué puede hacer y qué derechos tiene para poder presentar otra fianza tal vez? En el pasado hubo un caso que nos dejaba realmente pedir una audiencia de fianzas cada 6 meses en detención. Y este año, lastimosamente, el Corte Supremo realmente quitó esa regla, okay? En Rodriguez versus Jennings fue el caso. Pero eso no significa que no hay esperanza, o que si usted está detenido por mucho tiempo, muchos meses, no significa que no hay nada de esperanza para poder salir. Cada caso es diferente y sí todavía existen argumentos para poder sacarle a uno de los centros de detención después de 6 meses de detención. Así que es súper feo estar adentro encerrado tanto tiempo esperando un resultado, pero si usted está en esta situación, que no pierde al 100% la esperanza, y me encantaría tener una plática con usted porque hay argumentos que tal vez le podrían ayudar para poder por lo menos someter otro paquete de fianza y para poder por lo menos tener otra audiencia de fianza para ver si puede salir, ¿ok? Así que eso es todo que quería yo decir hoy. Mil gracias por estar conmigo. Otra vez, si usted quiere una copia de esa presentación, mándanos un texto de la palabra fianza o bond a este número 510-646-0904 o que nos mande eso en Facebook. Thank you very much for watching. If you want a copy of this, please send the word bond to 510-646-0904, or you can message that here on Facebook. That's all I've got. Thank you so much. Mil gracias. And if you know somebody who's detained by ICE, that's horrible, and I apologize that our system is the way it is. And don't just stop there. Let's fight about it, because the fight is on. Okay? Gracias y que pase un buen día.